Dan Illman, Mike Beer kicking off the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6 on Pegasus World Cup Saturday at Gulfstream Park. It is the Grade 3 Fred W. Hooper Stakes. Some nice older horses, a big field going a one-turn mile. Before we get to the analysis, big offer on tap from DRF Bets. New players, double your first deposit up to $250. Learn more, drf.com/bet. Here's the field for the Grade 3 Fred W. Hooper. And Mike, I took a look at this race. A lot of up-and-coming horses, a lot of horses with back class, and a lot of speed.
Yeah, there's a ton going on here. It's a huge field. I thought it was a relatively inscrutable race. I mean, it feels like everybody in the field has at least one race on their card. They would give them a real chance in this race. It's wide open. It's a very good betting race. Timeform
US has it a red bar situation, which means they're expecting a fast pace, and the 4 rare form would not be a surprise at all if he is on the early lead, even if he is cutting back from a mile and a 16th around 2 turns to 1. He's that fast.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they ride him the way they rode him last time, where they just set him out of there and let him open up on the field.
Zendon probably at his best when he's able to make the lead. Couldn't get it last time out, but had some excuses. The mile's a question mark for him.
He was in a very tough race last time. You're right, the mile could be a question for him, but he's in very good form since he started back from the layoff.
Those 2 horses expected to be up front. 7 Trumpets, the 6, perhaps Park just to the outside. He's shown a little bit of a rating gear in the past. Let's talk about the field in post-position order, beginning with the number 1, Storm Advisory. Storm Advisory was beaten for 40 last time out, but the horse that beat him isn't a $40,000 claimer. Happy Farm came back to win a 62.5 with a 91. He won the Fall Highway with a 94. He was second in the Gravesend with a 95. That being said, I needed Storm Advisory to do something in that race.
I mean, he didn't do any running in that race at all. It was a day where he wanted to be on the rail, and he didn't necessarily get over there, so that's an excuse for him, but he still ran poorly. Listen, it's first time Peter Walder. These horses can be dangerous, and it's not like he doesn't have races in his past that would make him really tough in here. I do think he's more of a sprinter, though.
Zendon, I think, has come back pretty good off the little bit of a freshening for Todd Pletcher, winning off of a long layoff at Gulfstream West. That was a race which was a nice confidence boost for him, and they ran him in a tough spot, the Mr. Prospector, where there was a very fast pace on. He couldn't get to his customary spot on the lead. Diamond Oops, who beat him, is going into the Pegasus World Cup. We all know what Imperial Hint, the 3rd place finisher, has accomplished in his career. So arguably a little bit of class relief for Zendon in here, but I am worried about the distance.
I mean, we'll see what happens. He's an interesting horse in here, though, especially if he can get 8 to 1, because he started out his career as a young horse. He was pretty good early on. And I think his Tampa Bay Derby, even though it felt like the distance got to him at the end, he ran pretty well in that race for a horse who didn't seem like he wanted to go a 2-turn route at that time. Maybe the 1-turn mile will work for him now, Dan. He's got a little more experience. He's 3rd off the layoff, 3rd for Pletcher. I thought there were things to like about this horse.
Eye of a Jedi is the number 3, and this is a horse with a puncher's chance, perhaps from the back of the pack. We see his Chicklet last on the Timeform US pace projector. Just a little bit slow on paper, but last time out, that was a tough spot off of the layoff in the Harlan's Holiday, where he kind of rushed up into a hot pace before tiring. He probably gained a lot of fitness from that performance, but he'll have to run a lifetime best.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for him, and that was a tough spot last time. Things don't get any easier here. This is another tough spot.
The last time the number 4, Rare Form, raced 1 mile on the dirt, he was a winner at Ellis Park. We're going to take a look at that race right now. Now, he was the fairly heavy favorite in this race, and Rare Form is just too much for these horses down towards the inside. Since then, though, 2 starts on turf, and then last time out, a runaway going a mile and a 16th. They weren't able to conserve his speed. His best game is his speed. I'm assuming Pratt puts him on the engine.
Yeah, I think they'll come out of there running again. We'll see if the pace just really works against it, because it's such a big field. You feel like others are going with him. I think he's got some talent, Dan. I think he's a dangerous horse if he can get the right kind of trip. He ran well last time. He just got tired at the end. Cutting back to the 1-turn mile could help this horse.
I think cutting back to the 1-turn mile helps the 5 Fat Man as well. I don't think we're getting the 10 to 1 on the morning line on Fat Man, but he was a stakes winner 3 starts back at Monmouth. He ran into Spun to Run 2 back. He can throw that race out. And then last time out, off a little bit of a layoff, he did some good work in the Harlan's Holiday. We'll turn into the stretch there, and Spun to Run is, and Fat Man is spun 4 wide turning into the lane, and he's kind of going to grind it out. War Story, who's in the Pegasus World Cup, is directly to his inside. Bodie Express was on the lead. This was a good effort for Fat Man. Give him some pace, a little drop in class. He'll come running here.
Nothing wrong with this horse. He forged on pretty gamely here. He's only 2nd best at the end, but War Story is a really, really nice horse. I thought that was a good effort for him. I wouldn't take too short a price on him. The 10-1 seems very fair to me on the morning line. If he goes, much shorter than that, I'd probably look elsewhere.
All 5 of 7 Trumpet's lifetime victories have come in Kentucky, 4 of them at Churchill Downs. He had a very nice trip last time out, and non-winners of 4 other than where Brian Hernandez just placed him off of a long shot early. He did put that horse away. He took a mid-race challenge, and then he held off a decent closer in Due Share, earning a 99 Beyer speed figure. Timeform US has him up close to a fast pace, but I think he can sit outside the other 2 speeds, which could be advantageous. And he has taken his show on the road with some decent efforts as a 3-year-old at least, most notably the second in the Jerkins back in 2018.
Yeah, his 3-year-old campaign didn't end very well with his last 2 starts, but up until then, I thought he really overachieved in some pretty tough spots. I do think he's more of a sprinter. We'll see about the 1-turn mile for him. I guess he should be able to get it, but I think he's more of a sprinting type. I liked his race last time. I just don't know if I want him going a 1-turn mile against this kind of a field, especially if he's going to be in that 5 or 6 to 1 range. I think he might get better than that, but I wouldn't take too short a price on this horse either.
Frankie Dettori takes the mount for Dale Romans, and that's an interesting combination to say the least. Tale of Silence is the number 7. Now listen, Tale of Silence been against Maximum Security in his last 2 races. The Cigar Mile, that wasn't going to work out for him. The Bold Ruler, I kind of felt they were riding for second that day. There wasn't a lot of pace. Junior Alvarado just wisely realized, listen, we can get a piece of this if we're patient. He rode the rail behind Maximum Security, got up for second. It was a 103 Beyer. He's a good miler, and when you give him good trips, it seems to work out. I'm just not sure if he is fast enough to stay within 5-6 lengths of this lead, and he might have to come from way out of it, but he has races.
Yeah, listen, he doesn't win very often, but he just kind of shows up and runs the same race every time. The 1-turn mile is good for him. If they go fast in front of him, he will run at the end. I think that's good for him. He's a hard horse to have a lot of confidence in as far as win betting goes, but I could use this horse somewhere.
I think the 8 Free Enterprise is going to take all the money in this race for Chad Brown. He's never been out of the exacta from 5 lifetime starts. Popped a 101 Beyer and breaking his maiden 2 back at Belmont. Followed it up in his first start against winners, going 7 furlongs with this performance, and Free Enterprise won as the odds-on favorite and did it very nicely. You see him cruising up to the outside. He's the number 7, taking over the lead and going on with it over the Caretaker, who's much improved right now. Nice outside post with stalking ability. Lots to like. He must try the mile for the first time, but from a pedigree standpoint, from the way he looks on the track, he should handle it.
I mean, he's run well in every one of his starts so far. He's run a couple of fast races in his last 2. I get all the reasons why you might like this horse. I wouldn't be betting him as the favorite against this field, though. This is a pretty significant step up in class.
First time in a stakes race of any kind for the 8 Free Enterprise, and with the Castellano-Brown connections, he's going to get bet. Olympic Village, listen, they ran him in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. That was a throwout. Then they ran him 2 turns again at Churchill Downs. He is a closing sprinter. He's going to get pace. He ran 3rd against fellow 3-year-olds last time out, Mahoning Valley, in the Steel Valley Sprint. He's 5th right now on the yellow blinkers on the outside, kind of making up a little bit of ground, finishing evenly, did get a career best 92 Beyer, worked a bull at 59 the other day. He needs a lot of things to go his own way, but he has some upside.
I think he does too. I think he's a pretty interesting horse in here. This effort that we're looking at right now wasn't bad. He didn't break that great from the gate. He was far back early, but he made a move around the turn just to get close, and then I liked the way that he stayed on at the end. I think the 1-turn mile is going to be within his scope. This is a horse who could take a big step forward in here.
Gray Magician did some really good work over the summer and into the fall. 2nd in the Indiana Derby behind the very sharp Mr. Money, was then very sharp, just missed a spun to run in the Smarty Jones, came back with a game win at Keeneland, supposedly got sick after that race, missed some time, and then he caught Gift Box off the layoff in the San Antonio. That was just a tough spot for Gray Magician in his final start as a 3-year-old. I think he gets a little class relief. He likes this distance, and he might have the right running style. He's very dangerous. I don't think we're getting 6 to 1.
I mean, we'll see what happens with him. I don't want to hold the San Antonio against him because he just doesn't seem like he's that kind of horse. His form prior to that, as a 3-year-old, I thought it was fine. I'm not as big a fan of his as you are. I know you like this horse a little bit. I just couldn't never really buy into him. We'll see what happens. He's not a horse I was that interested in here.
Epic Dreamer just aired last time out, and a non-winners of 2 other than when turned back to 6 furlongs at Gulfstream. We'll watch that race, and Epic Dreamer's won this race very easily. He's already taken it over. He's on his way. By far, this is his fastest performance, a 95 Beyer speed figure, and perhaps it's because he's been turned back in distance. He was running 2 turns with varied amounts of success. Maybe this 1-turn mile is what the doctor ordered the whole time.
Yeah, I think the cutback was really key for this horse, especially when you start pulling apart his PPs a little bit, because he had run fine in some races around 2 turns. It just didn't seem like that's what he really wanted to do. His debut sprinting was really good at Belmont as a late 2-year-old. He won his next start at a 1-turn mile and 60th. He won that race very easily. And every start after that was 2 turns until that one we just watched where they finally cut him back and he drilled that field. I think the 1-turn mile was within his scope.
Gran Homero won 4 Group 1 stakes races in his native Venezuela. He was part of the Clásico del Caribe card last time out. We'll watch that race. He's going to try to sneak up the inside here, and he's going to get sort of pinched towards the rail. He's going to get beat a length. To me, and when we handicapped this race, we thought the 1 1/8 might be actually a little short for him, that maybe 1 1/4, 1.5 miles is what he wants. Now he's going to get some pace turning back to the mile. I just think this is a little sharp for him.
I think it might be a little sharp. We'll see what happens. If they go, really fast in front of him, maybe he'll run at the end. But he does feels like a horse who has to really improve to get a piece of this.
Chewing Gum won by 9 last time out for Bill Mott. It was a race, though, that was washed off of the turf, but it was his first 1-turn dirt race. They've spent most of his time on turf with this horse. He does have some upside. He's obviously had his share of problems as a 5-year-old with only 6 starts, but he does have a versatile running style. Again, it's hard to figure out who the best closer is in this race. If you think there's going to be a pace collapse, you're going to look for the best closer. Is it Chewing Gum?
I don't know if it is. I mean, listen, they went really fast early in that race last time. He was way at the back of the pack, and then he caught up, and he actually won very easily. He's very lightly raced. He's got a nice pedigree. There are things to like about him, Dan. I guess he'll be a big price in this race, so I'm not going to knock him, but he's certainly got something to prove.
Dak Attack was a promising 2-year-old back in 2017 for Dale Romans. He only was able to start late in his 3-year-old campaign twice, and he only raced 3 times as a 4-year-old. Last time out, again, I think the 1 1/16 is a little far. He's probably more of a 7-furlong type, but I think with the right scenario, he can get the 1-turn mile. It's all about whether he's this good.
Yeah, cutting back, he's going to be a big price in this race, and he is, lightly raced enough that you could hold out some hope for him that he's still got some improvement coming forward.
Let's take a look at our top selections to kick off the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6 at Gulfstream on Pegasus World Cup Saturday. It is a wide-open race. You liked Epic Dreamers last race. He's in the right hands with Kelly Breen, and I think they found what he wants to do finally, and that's 1-turn racing.
That's what I think, and I've always felt that way about him. I'm actually a fan of this horse. I'll take my chances with him. This race feels so wide open to me. I do not want short prices in here. I'm going to take some horses at bigger prices, and I like that Epic Dreamers last race a lot.
I'm going to use 7 Trumpets. I like where Timeform US had him, just sitting 3rd off the 2 speeds. Maybe he can get the jump on these horses. Mike's point that maybe 1 mile is a bit too far for him is well taken. He has won at the distance, but it was over a wet track against weaker horses. I'm hoping that, as Mike says, he doesn't get bet too much off the 6-1. I think Fat Man, the 5, is very interesting. Yeah. Obviously, Chad Source, the 8 Free Enterprise, and I'm using Mike's top pick, the 11 Epic Dreamer as well. Good race, the Grade 3 Fred W. Hooper, to kick off the graded stakes action on Pegasus World Cup Saturday. Approximate post 2:31 Eastern. Good luck.